He lives in a big, noisy and crowded city with a busy rhythm of life. But he is interested in another world. A world with no fuss, where a person lives preserving the heritage of his ancestors and the precepts of nature. Konstantin Kuksin, an ethnographer, traveler, a current member of the Russian Geographical Society, as well as the founder and director of the Museum of Nomadic Culture in Moscow. Nomads of the Great Steppe are his favorite topic, and he can talk about it for hours.
Про кочевую цивилизацию.
About the nomadic civilization that, like a patchwork quilt, covers our planet. We will talk about all of this on the sacred land of Ulytau. Welcome to Ulytau. Konstantin Kuksin in the new season of Dala project.
Когда мы смотрим...
When we look at the great monuments of the past, and the land of Ulytau has many mausoleums, burial mounds and other monuments of history, we think that even the greatest empire will sooner or later turn to dust. Because nothing lasts forever in this world. When we look at mausoleums or visit cemeteries, we think that the life is frail, it's transient, it will end in death. As the great poet Joseph Brodsky said, when we look around, we only see ruins. The view, of course, is very barbaric, but true. The great ruins of the Ulytau land. Today, with historian and writer Mukhtar Bakitoli, we will talk about the decline of one of the greatest empires in the history of mankind. An empire created by the genius of Genghis Khan. Mukhtar, let's start with the ruins, mausoleums and monuments of that era. The descendants of Genghis Khan built unfortified cities like Bolgan Ana and Kalintam, meaning they did not build fortification walls because they were not afraid of anyone. The great empire that was built by Genghis Khan. It says a lot. It ensured safety of all Genghizids. First and foremost, the feudal elite. If we compare these cities with the settlement of the Oghuz period, the latter had fortification walls. As for the mausoleums left us not only the architectural legacy, but also the information about that very era, the era of Genghizids. The most grandiose mausoleum in Ulytau is Ala Shah Khan. What struck me about this mausoleum was first its size. It's huge and there's a staircase leading up. It resembles a fortress. Is it true that this mausoleum could have been used as a defensive castle? I believe that this is the tomb of an important and eminent Khagan. As for its age, there is a lot of controversy. Mikhail Gerasimov wrote in 1957 that Ala Shah Khan belongs to the first half of the 13th century. Alkay Margulan agrees with this opinion. This tomb had to be protected against desecration. The first wall of defense of this mausoleum was the steppe itself, that is, the inaccessibility of the Ulytau mountains. There are loopholes, a place for an archer to shoot, and next to it there is a space for the person who helps the archer. This also suggests that the tomb had to be protected until the end. Their task was to not let this tomb be desecrated. It looks like a castle. With ladders at different levels, you need to go around to get to the next one. This is not a religious building. This is a structure built for a noble ruler. According to the beliefs of the ancient Turkic peoples, in order to conquer any nation, you need to desecrate the graves of their eminent ancestors, especially the royal rulers. The Don Cossacks completely desecrated the tomb of Batu Khan and his descendants on purpose in 1543, if I'm not mistaken. This was done in order to subdue the entire Uluk Ulus, that is, the entire Golden Horde. That is why the protection of such burial grounds and tombs was of the essence. According to a legend, a huge amount of material resources was used to build this mausoleum. A large number of horses were brought from all over the place and were milked. This milk was fermented and later used to make a solution. They also cut off all the manes and tails to use as a solution strengthener. To make rebar, yes, a binding solution. A brick factory was found on the coast of the Karakengir, not far from the mausoleum of Allah Shah Khan. It used to produce bricks for this mausoleum. In the 1970s, a Zhezkazgan plant attempted to conduct restoration works, which were unsuccessful. The bricks were of a much higher quality. They were preserved, but during Soviet collectivization, collective farms needed building materials, so they used the bricks from the mausoleum. But no matter how many times they destroyed it, this mausoleum still stands. On the plate at the entrance, the date is the 9th century. Yes, it was built somewhere around 9th, 11th century. This date was determined in the 70s. The historians made connections to the Karakanid style of construction, which is why it was dated at the time of the Karakanid state. This is erroneous, because this is the Genghizid period, and Gerasimov and Margulan may be right. Allah Shah Khan is a legendary person. The historians of the 19th and 20th centuries knew very well about the Kazakh Khanate, the events of the 15th and 16th centuries. But the historical memory of the Genghizid period was erased. They knew that a Khan was buried there, but they forgot which one. So they simply called him Allah Shah Khan, because the brickwork reminded them of Allah Shah, a carpet made of multicolored woolen threads. The legends about Allah Shah Khan started appearing at the time of the Kazakh Khanate. Hafiz Tanish has no mention of Allah Shah Khan. He mentions others, but not him. They might have just told him not to talk about it, not to write about it. Yes, you can write about Joshi, but don't write about him. This must remain a mystery, and this mystery has not yet been solved. Recently, scientists carried out radiocarbon and DNA analysis, but the results unfortunately are classified. So, the mystery continues to be a mystery. Maybe that's for the good. Speaking of mysteries, there are also modern legends. We are right now in the place called the Kokmaysay Recreation Area. Its owner told me that in 1982, Allah Shah Khan Mausoleum was cordoned off by the State Security Committee, better known as KGB. They conducted some research there. I don't know where he heard this information, though, and of course there is a version that the Jungas took away the bones, along with terracotta slabs, because recent research shows that the bones were collected and taken somewhere. They date back to around the 18th century. This is based on the studies by Yelena Korash and Emma Usmanova, who are also using radiocarbon analysis. There are a lot of mysteries here, and I hope that soon these mysteries will be solved. Let the mysteries remain secret. Let them excite the imagination and inspire new generations of explorers. And let your words that graves of any people, but especially great people, should not be disturbed, become prophetic. I hope that no one else will disturb the peace of the great rulers of the past and their wives. I hope people will come to the mausoleums, which have been preserved since ancient times, just to bow to their ancestors, to remember the great people who have done a lot for their country and for the history. Our film crew visited the Alasha Khan Mausoleum. I climbed the ancient stairs, and now you, dear viewers, have the opportunity to walk with me along the gallery at the top of this amazing mausoleum. This place is like a fortress with narrow passages and ladders at different levels. Just one warrior can fight off an entire army in such passageways, if of course he has a brave heart. Here is the exit to the third floor. Well, let's go. According to a legend, in the evening you could see a ray of light rising above the dome of Joshi Khan's mausoleum. At least, that's what they say. They say that this miraculous phenomenon was only visible before the mausoleum's restoration. Mausoleums of Alasha Khan, Joshi Khan, Bolgan Ana, Kulan Ana. All of them have a single characteristic. They have a portal dome. This is the ancient Sumerian architectural style. The distinguishing feature of the style is that on the front side of the portal there are indentations. These indentations represent the sacred gates of Yergeni Khan, which the Mongols blocked with stones after they left, so that no enemy could get it. This is how they are still preserved, according to Oguz Name. These indentations, by the way, were called Bosaga. They continued to function as an ideological attribute until the middle of the 19th century. These Bosaga are on the front of all these mausoleums. Alasha Khan Mausoleum has rectangular Bosaga with terracotta slabs, which are highlighted by encircling notches. As for the terracotta slabs themselves, they were torn off by the Jungas, according to Mikhail Gerasimov, who wrote about this in his work in 1957. This is the evidence that the Jungas reached the mausoleum of Alasha Khan during their conquests. There is some hope for the terracotta slabs of Joshi Khan's mausoleum, which were torn off in 1911 at the instruction of the Odbasar district head, who wanted to show them to Governor Otto von Schmidt. Alkay Margulan wrote about this. Someone told him that these slabs had the information about for whom this mausoleum was built written on them. The width of the indentations indicates that the building was covered not with thin slabs, but with thick terracotta slabs, where all this information was written. So, Mukhtar, this means that the portal side of the Joshi Khan Mausoleum was lined with blue tiles by modern restorers, which was supposed to replace the lost terracotta slabs that had the inscription saying who is buried there. This is unique evidence which modern archaeologists aim to find. When I told this to some tourists, they got so interested that they even provided me with sponsorship to go to the Almaty State Archives. There I found evidence that in May of 1911, Governor General of the Siberian region did visit Odbasar. He stopped near Odbasar, where he met with the district head. The same files in the archives have evidence that from June the 15th to July the 15th, the Russian city of Omsk held an international fair. It was an agricultural fair where foreign and local agricultural enterprises showcased their technology, their achievements, etc. To draw interest to this fair, the organizers opened a pavilion of Siberian studies, where they collected and displayed all the exhibits of Siberian museums. We hope that these terracotta slabs made their way to Omsk. We hope that the Governor General decided that they are of cultural value and can be exhibited in this pavilion. Otherwise, they could have been left in Atbasar. In Atbasar, they could have been used as building material. And with the advent of the Bolsheviks, they simply could have been taken to a landfill as part of the agenda aimed at destroying the old system, the old history. If they indeed made it to Omsk, then we need to look for them there, or even in the storages of the Hermitage. Amazing things can be found in Siberian museums. I myself worked in the Tomsk Museum. They store everything. You just have to look. You just need people who will do that. Indeed. Then there will be no need for DNA analysis or carbon dating. We just need to find these terracotta slabs and put them back in place. They had all the information about this mausoleum written in the Chagatai language. We had a dispute about this with Juman Smailov, who worked on the mausoleums. This blue glaze on the rectangular portal was laid out on his initiative. Why? Because he refers to Gerasimov, who in 1957 said that this indentation was lined with glaze. Gerasimov's version was used during the last restoration works. Domes of Joshi Khan's mausoleum are special. They were glazed with blue tiles, which underwent restoration work. Most likely, these plates slipped down from the dome part. They say that one of the shepherds who was in this area all the time, passing by the mausoleum, found these slabs with blue glaze. He picked up these slabs and threw them in crevices. The work to find the terracotta slabs is the priority right now. They are of ideological importance for the state. Well, this work is necessary and extremely interesting. Perhaps some of the viewers will join this process and take part in restoring the history of their country. Let us consider the time of construction of all these mausoleums. We know that the Golden Horde converted to Islam in 1312 under Uzbek Khan. And apparently, all the mausoleums were built in the Islamic period. But when exactly? Is this the beginning of the 14th century or the middle? I'm asking about the time of mausoleums construction because I heard a version that they were built in the Islamic period. But later, like 100 years later, after Joshi Khan's death. The mausoleums were built during 1 year of mourning after the deceased departed from this world. There is an explanation for their architectural style. The Mongols and the Tatars were Tengrians or pagans. The architecture was pre-Islamic. The Kanju city of Batian, Sumerian cities, Babylon, they all had portal-domed architecture. That's why this is a characteristic architecture for Transoxiana, for Central Asia. This is where the builders and architects came from. They offered their own version of the construction, and of course the customer agreed. But at the same time, the rectangular shapes and other attributes of the Genghizid era were a distinguishing feature. They differed from the other mausoleums, like those in Uzbekistan. Yes, in Uzbekistan. The ornaments and the portal side are completely different there. There were no architects here. Everyone was engaged in cattle breeding or metallurgy. That's why the architects came from Samarkand and Bukhara. By the way, these mausoleums made it to today in a pretty good shape. Why? Because the architects conducted geodetic research before the construction. Unlike the mausoleums or mosques of the 19th century, the builders did not conduct any geodetic research for many monuments then. Things like where you need to drive in piles or deepen the foundation. They were simply built on soft ground. The mausoleums like Bolganana were indestructible, no matter how much they tried to destroy it or make building materials out of it. but especially during collectivization, the walls are still standing. Bolgan Ana mausoleum has a rectangular indentation with 2 stripes. The fragments of the terracotta slabs are preserved in the National Museum in Almaty. These are small pieces that were picked up by Alkay Margulan, although Gerasimov believes that there were no terracotta slabs there because there are no alabaster traces like in mausoleums of Joshi Khan, Ayak Kamir and Alasha Khan. But Alkay Margulan picked up the slabs, so this suggests that Bolgan Ana mausoleum did have the terracotta slabs. One of the features were Tamga symbols that were painted on the bricks before the firing. That is, they were first engraved on the brick, and only then did the firing take place. Tamga represents certain information. It is a symbol of power. This is a bosaga, a threshold. Arde is the Tamga of the Baganali people, which tells us about the continuation of the tribal structure from those times to the present, because the Baganali people still live here. This also presents an opportunity for further research. Is there any information about the burial style, or has everything been plundered so much that we can't say anything? Joshi Khan was buried in a wooden coffin hammered with nails of those times. There are also fragments of sanitary equipment, fragments of his clothes, banners, daggers, which were not of interest to the robbers. And of course, we assume that there were also golden items. This is confirmed by the excavations of Bolgan Ana mausoleum. With my film crew, I visited the exhibition center near the mausoleum of Joshi Khan, and the director showed us the things found in the grave. I have a question. A classic Muslim burial does not include various items placed in the grave, right? A person returns to Allah as he came. The body is simply wrapped in a cloth. Does the abundance of things that were found in the burials of Joshi Khan, for example, indicate that he was not a Muslim, that this was not a Muslim burial? Of course, Joshi was not a Muslim, but he treated Muslims with respect, just like his father. Yes, like his father. The ideology was supra-religious, supranational, and supracultural. That's why we cannot say that this was a Muslim burial. It was just built by Muslims. Islam became the state religion only under Uzbek Khan. The first developments in this direction were made by Berke Khan. Berke, because he was a Muslim. Joshi Khan himself made him a Muslim. It was not necessary to wait until Uzbek Khan made Islam the state religion, because Muslim architects worked there even before that. So this means that the burial was carried out according to the Jengizid traditions, while the mausoleum on top was built in the Muslim tradition by architects from Transoxiana. When we were visiting the mausoleum of Joshi Khan, we learned that the Mongols visited shortly before our arrival, and according to tradition, they left the white food, or tsaganada in Mongolian, to their Khan, their ancestor. This is a Mongolian tradition. Everything intersects here: time, traditions, peoples, religions.
Кочевая цивилизация порой кажется...
The nomadic civilization sometimes seems illusory because the dwellings of nomads, their harness, all their household items are made of easily decomposing materials, felt, wood and leather. When the nomad moves away, only a trace of the hearth will remain, which will be overgrown with grass. And it seems to many that the nomads did not exist at all and did not create any culture. This is fundamentally wrong. The people of the Great Steppe united and created the greatest states, and they built monumental structures. The land of Ulytau preserves many monuments of that great period.